Well, now, folks, it can get pretty lonely here at Visit Hours, so it's quite nice to introduce somebody and have someone pay a visit. And this time we've got Leona. Hi, Leona.
Hi.
So Leona's from our HSOP project, and as mentioned in a previous viz, October was Positive Aging Month. And obviously, a lot of the work that we do across BCM takes place throughout the year. Of course, that includes Leona and her team. So Leona, can you just give us a bit of an insight into your project and what it does, just for anybody who might not be aware?
Okay. HSOP, for anybody who doesn't know, stands for Housing Support for Older People. We're a floating support service run by BCM, and we work across the Belfast area and the Southern Trust. So we support anybody who's over the age of 55 to remain living at home independently for as long as it's safe for them to do so. We have a team of dedicated support workers who will go out and provide support to those older people living on their own and help them with things like home safety, home security, remaining independent, looking at their housing related issues, linking them into their local community, and every aspect in terms of keeping them living safe and well at home.
Great. I mean, very important, obviously, and I'm sure this year has been a particular challenge for them and you guys trying to figure everything out with lockdown and restrictions. How have the older people that you've been working with found lockdown in particular, or just life during the pandemic?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that it has been really, really difficult. Our support workers have been working incredibly hard and have done such an amazing job with the people that they're supporting. And we have really seen an increase in anxiety amongst the older people throughout the pandemic, from March right through until now, and probably more so now than ever before. And I think a part of that is the winter months that are ahead of us and the time that we're in now. During the last pandemic, during the last lockdown, we were able to do our garden visits, and we're not able to do them just as much now, obviously, because of the weather and the impact that has on the physical health of the people that we're supporting. But yeah, we've seen an awful increase in anxiety. We've seen loneliness an awful lot with our older people. We have one lady who has not opened her windows since March because she's literally afraid to open her windows. She's so afraid of the germs that are in the air. In the beginning, we've seen a great community spirit, and there was a lot of pop-up organisations that were there to help and deliver food and medication, things like that, which is all great and greatly appreciated. But we work with an awful lot of people who are very, very rural, and it's these people that are suffering the most within the Southern Trust area. What we've also seen is an increase in the service users that we support with hoarding disorders. So quite often hoarding can be trauma related, and given that we're in the middle of a pandemic, we have an awful lot of people who are struggling. Coupled with that, then, that the support workers are not in the home as regularly as what they would have been in order to support the hoarders with that condition. So that's something that's coming to the fore also. I suppose we've lots of different examples in terms of how people have been impacted, and I could talk all day, so you can tell me to shush when you're ready.
Well, we have a time scale. I mean, I think we're limited to about half an hour, so.
I'll give you an example. We have one gentleman in the Southern Trust who is living in housing executive accommodation, getting a private pension. And during the first lockdown, there was a difficulty with his pension, an administrative error. So it meant that his pension then was stopped. This was his income, this was his livelihood. Because of COVID, he wasn't able to get through on the phone line. He didn't have access to email, he didn't have access to websites. So he couldn't do the things that is requested of everyone else in society, which is refer to our website, send an inquiry. He couldn't do that. When our support worker went to visit him, she found him living in the home with no money. He had no electricity, his heating had broke, and he had no food at all in the home. And it was something that was quite a simple fix for the support worker to do, but made such a massive, massive difference. And he hadn't actually told the support worker. He's quite a new gentleman to the service. He hadn't told the support worker because he was at that stage of his life where he was embarrassed that this is how he was living and this is the condition that he had got himself into through absolutely no fault of his own.
Yeah.
So that's one example.
No, of course, and I'm sure, as you say, there's plenty of examples and you could talk all day. I suppose for those who are watching and who want to learn a bit more, they can obviously go onto our website or they can contact you directly. while you've got this moment, is there anything that members of the public can do to either help or support, whether it's the project or BCM or just members of the community or their families that are perhaps elderly or perhaps at risk?
Yeah, I suppose first and foremost, I would say just generally check in on your neighbours, check in on those people that live nearby you. If they need support, refer them to support to whoever it is that is there and available to help them. Don't just assume that everyone has family or that everyone has somebody to support them, because quite often that's not the case. And I suppose to take this opportunity to say thank you to our volunteers who over the Christmas period are going to be delivering out hampers and Christmas dinner on Christmas Day to our older people, as they have done over a number of years. So we're so grateful for that. One of the things that our older people really, really appreciated during the first lockdown period was cards and letters from school children and from other people. So that would be something that if anyone had a spare minute that would be willing to write a letter, to send a card, it really makes such a difference.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, hopefully people will pick up on that. And if they even can just send them to you, you know, if they can be generic messages just to anybody, just to wish them season's greetings, so to speak. Now, I won't keep you too long because I know that you're very busy. But before we sign off, I understand that we have a guest submission for Poetry Corner, and we haven't had a Poetry Corner for a long time. I know you're a fan, and we have had a few requests for a Poetry Corner. So can you tell us a bit about this?
Yes, this is one of our service users who's living in Armagh, and he's actually wrote his own book of poems. So this is Malachi, and he's going to read his poem for us.
Thanks very much, Leona, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you.
You want me to go? Volcano, trapped in an ageless desire, application carried with scorn, modified words to try and conform, everything depending on form, hoping to grasp the nettle with the usual stamp of approval, not so much of late but way, death and blood on our streets, the laugh outside, a welcome face.